I was about 15 years old the first time that I stood at the rim of the Grand Canyon. I was there on a family road trip, and I remember stepping aside from my family and just taking in the awe of this massive ditch in the earth. It was obviously an awe-inspiring moment. I think almost anyone who visits the Grand Canyon would say that. But I was also limited in what I was taking in because I thought, this is it. I'm just staring into this big gap in the Earth's crust, and that's all you do when you go to the Grand Canyon. I wish so badly that I could go back in time and tell 15-year-old me that she would go on to walk from one side of the Grand Canyon to the other side and back, that she would spend over 3 weeks floating through the 300 miles of river going through the Grand Canyon, and that someday she would even lead a fundraising hike with a group of women who would then fundraise over $11,000 to help other girls and women experience the magic of getting outside. I feel so lucky that I've gotten to have these experiences within the Grand Canyon. And I also know that it is a serious undertaking to plan a rim-to-rim hike. It's also a bucket list hike for many people. If that's you, you're going to love this episode because we are going to give you a bunch of tips you need if you want to hike rim to rim, or perhaps rim to rim to rim, across the Grand Canyon. In October of 2025, Tana, Lorri, Lisa, Ritzy, Mary, Sunny, and myself hiked strong as a team for over 21 miles and over 10,000 feet of elevation change in one beautiful day in the Grand Canyon. Because of this team's fundraising efforts and the people who supported them, we were able to raise about $7,800 for the Cairn Project and almost $4,000 for wildfire relief along the Grand Canyon's North Rim. This is the heart of what we do at the Cairn Project. We have people turn their adventures into a get out, give back grassroots fundraiser that makes a real impactful difference to our communities who need to spend more time outside. If you're interested in joining a future fundraising hike, I will share more about that. But first, let's define rim to rim. You might just be interested in seeing more of the Grand Canyon, and this might be the first time you've heard the words rim to rim. When people say that they're hiking rim to rim, they mean that they are crossing the entire Grand Canyon, starting from one rim, dropping all the way down to the Colorado River at the bottom, and then climbing up the opposite rim. You are literally walking from one edge of the continent's biggest canyon to the other edge. It's not a loop, it's a full crossing. So you can go from the high forests of the North Rim to the desert landscape of the South Rim, or vice versa. It's kind of like doing a marathon where the first half is straight up downhill and the second half is straight uphill. And what makes the rim to rim so appealing to a lot of people is it's not just a route through a really cool environment, but it's also a way to experience time travel in a way. Because when you descend, you're going through nearly 2 billion years of rock history. And then you climb back up through all of it in reverse. It's one of the only places on Earth when you can walk through the planet's past in a single day. At the same time, it's also an extreme environment with unreliable water sources and minimal shade, no cell phone service, spiky cactus everywhere. This is a bucket list adventure for countless people, but it takes some work to organize and plan. So today, I'm going to share with you a ton of tips for your future rim-to-rim Grand Canyon adventure, including different routes to choose from, training tips, what to pack, gear to bring, and, of course, how you can join us in March 2026 for a guided trip. And if you're a notes person like I am, there is a free downloadable packing list and training guide that we have for you in the show notes. I would listen to this first, and then you can decide whether you want to download that list and DIY this adventure, or if you want to grab one of the remaining spots on our March 2026 guided trip. So let's go. First up, trails and routes. The trails I'm going to talk about are within the National Park Service, so Grand Canyon National Park. The NPS divides its hiking routes in the Grand Canyon into 3 different categories based on usage, maintenance, and how remote they are. The most maintained and popular trails are called corridor trails. These are like the main highways of the national park. They're well defined, they have signage, they often have rangers patrolling them. This includes the South Kaibab Trail, the Bright Angel Trail, and the North Kaibab Trail. Another category of trails are called threshold trails. These are moderately maintained but less traveled than the corridor trails. This includes the Tonto Trail, Grandview Trail, and Tanner Trail. They don't have quite as much maintenance or rangers patrolling them. Rescue access would be slower and more difficult if you needed a rescue. But you do get a little bit away from the crowds if you use these trails. And then the third category are primitive or wilderness routes. These are unmaintained, very remote, true backcountry routes. Sometimes it takes a lot of hard route finding to even see where you're supposed to go. These are more for very experienced hikers who are used to the desert environment, who know the Grand Canyon very well. So between those three categories of trails, naturally you can choose your own adventure, but most people will design their rim to rim to use those corridor trails, the North Kaibab, South Kaibab, and Bright Angel trails. A common choice is to start on the North Rim when it's open, hike down the North Kaibab Trail, cross the Colorado River, soak your feet in first, and then hike up the Bright Angel Trail. But when the North Rim is closed, like it is in fall of 2025 due to wildfire impact, many people will do a south side modification. You might descend the South Kaibab Corridor Trail, use the Tonto Threshold Trail as a connector, and then dip down to the Colorado River and hike back out to the South Rim via the Bright Angel Trail. And there are the long distance enthusiasts who will rim to rim to rim, meaning that they start on one rim, cross to the other side, and then turn around to go back to where they started. Rim to rim to rim is almost 50 miles to do it on the corridor trails. But the perk of that is then you don't need to find vehicle transportation back to your starting point, because this is fascinating. To just drive from the North Rim to the South Rim or vice versa is about 4.5 hours. So most people, when they do the one-way crossing, will find a vehicle shuttle. Our October 2025 route was that rim to river to rim route that I described. So we started at the South Kaibab Trail, hiked down to the Tonto Trail, used that to connect to the Bright Angel Trail, and then we went down to the river and all the way back up and out of the canyon. This was about 21 miles. We descended about 5,400 feet and ascended about 5,000 feet on the way out. On our next guided trip in March of 2026, we're going to see if the North Kaibab Trail reopens by then, which would allow us to cross between both rims, which is up to 28 miles if you add on a waterfall extension. If not, the south side option is equally incredible, because what's mind-blowing about the Grand Canyon isn't just that it's deep and big, but it's old. When you look at those layers of red and gold and gray, I mean, they're rainbow rocks. You are literally staring at almost 1.8 billion years of Earth's history. The oldest rocks at the bottom of the Grand Canyon were formed when single-celled life was just emerging. And then the youngest layers at the top, like the Kaibab limestone, those ones sat under a tropical sea. Millions of years later, the whole region started uplifting, so it rose thousands of feet in elevation as the Colorado Plateau rose. And then the Colorado River then went to work carving its way through those layers, carving out what you see today as a Grand Canyon. So when you're hiking in the Grand Canyon, you are not just walking through a canyon, but you're kind of walking through time. No matter which routes you choose, you get that magical time travel experience. But our top takeaways for today for choosing your route: number 1, study your options, because getting lost in the Grand Canyon is not an option. Number 2, know your trail conditions and closures. We saw people on our October hike that were very confused about where they were and where they were going. I would not recommend doing that. And number 3, if you do not want to DIY and figure out your own route, just come with us on our March trip if there's still space available. Okay, let's move on to terraining. Here is what makes the Grand Canyon different than most hikes. You start with the downhill. So you can think about this as a reverse mountain. While your legs are fresh, you wake up in the morning, you descend thousands of feet, but then you start getting tired because you've gone several miles downhill, and then you have to climb back out. That's when the real climbing starts, which a lot of people think that uphill is harder when you're on a normal hike, but downhill is not easy either. Some of our recent hikers found that the uphill was more favorable because it was less pressure on their knees. Whether you're an uphill or a downhill person, to get ready, you do not have to be an ultra runner. You don't have to be an elite athlete. You just need to put in some mindful and consistent training. If you know that you need to put in some training, but you don't know where to start, we have a 14-week plan that builds you up through strength training like step-ups and lunges, weighted stair workouts. We build in hill sprints or hill hikes while wearing some weight in your pack. We have some back-to-back training days on the weekend so that you can get used to hiking on tired legs. And of course, we build in rest into every week so that you can let all that hard work integrate into your body. One recent participant told me that her favorite part was how training became its own journey, because every week she could see herself getting stronger and more ready to take on the Grand Canyon hike. These are our top training takeaways. Number 1, incorporate plenty of hill work to prepare your knees and your climbing endurance. Number 2, build slowly and consistently over months. You don't need to do a couch to Grand Canyon, but it also might not be as intense as you expect it to be for training. And number 3, know that no matter how much you train, the adventure still might not feel easy, but training will only help you. Next up is gear. So the canyon doesn't care if you have the most expensive shoes or the fanciest jacket. In this desert environment, it is all about function over fashion. And we help our hikers carefully curate their nutrition, food, clothing, and safety items before they hike with us. It is a tricky balance because you don't want a super heavy pack, but you do want to have enough layers because the temperature can change drastically in the canyon. It can be 30 degrees hotter towards the bottom of the canyon than when you're on the rim. So if you start your hike before sunrise on the rim, you might be wearing your puffy jacket at 25 degrees Fahrenheit. But then a few hours later, when you're down closer to the river, you might find yourself in shorts and a tank top, sweating in the 90 degrees. It's like traveling from the mountains of, say, Colorado to the deserts of Arizona in a single day, but on foot. So you need to be prepared to carry that. Honestly, if you're going to do this hike on your own, I would recommend scouring the internet so that you can read a whole bunch of blogs and trip reports from different people, and then you can get a feel for gear and clothing options. One piece of gear that I have seen many people miss, which can be catastrophic, is backup water treatment. Most trails in the Grand Canyon do not have reliable water access. One of the south side trails, the Bright Angel Trail, does have a running pipeline, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is working or treated. You need to be able to do your research first to make sure you know when the pipeline is running, when it's scheduled to be running, if it's being repaired, but also you need to have some sort of backup, like a water pump or iodine, in case the pipeline is down unexpectedly and you're left with no potable water. Another thing that people don't always think about is the sheer amount of calories that you need to sustain such a long day. It's a long workout. And believe me, snacks make a huge difference on energy and mood. We saw this last month too with our hikers. They weren't necessarily feeling hungry because you have that adrenaline or fatigue that just makes you not feel your hunger as much. But if you can force feed a little bit of sugar, even caffeine, it can give you a huge boost so that you can get out of the canyon feeling better. I don't want to get too in the weeds here with everything gear because there's a lot to consider. So we can dig more into footwear, layers, poles, water capacity, all of that if you download our free packing list in the show notes, or of course if you join us in March, where we can help you personalize your packing. So for now, our takeaways for gear. Number 1, plan for significant swings in weather, especially temperature. 2, always have a way to treat water. And 3, layering is mandatory. You want to pack smart with your layers. There is so much more that goes into planning your rim to rim, or your rim to river to rim, or your rim to rim to rim, like whether to fly into Las Vegas or Phoenix or St. George, how to camp at the rim or stay in a hotel, getting your entrance fee paid into the national park, or deciding whether you want to turn this into a backpacking trip, which requires permits. It can be a lot to sift through, and a big benefit of a rare opportunity to join a guided hike is that we walk you through all the preparation and info that you need to have a safe, fun, collaborative, and honestly, often a life-changing experience. We have 3 more spots available for our March trip. So run to the link in our show notes if you are ready to kick off spring 2026 with one of the most stunning hikes in the whole world. We're hiking on March 21st, 2026, as a group of 9 participants, plus myself and Sunny Strower, who is the executive director of the GIA Alliance. This is a volunteer-led hike, so there's no guiding fee, just a commitment to fundraise to help us create outdoor scholarships for more girls and women. We will hook you up with fundraising tips so that you can raise $1,000 to help more women access the outdoors, all while you take part in an incredible team experience through the Grand Canyon. If that sounds like your type of adventure, then all the info plus the sign up link is below in the show notes. And you can always email me. It's Angie@cairnproject.org if you have questions, and I can help you figure out if it's a good opportunity for you this spring. Well, I hope that you are able to take some of these takeaways about choosing your route, training for your hike, and packing wisely so that you can have an amazing Grand Canyon experience. It's something that I think everybody needs to see at some point in their lives, and I hope that I get to share the trail with you. Let me know if you have questions, and I hope to see you outside. If you found this episode helpful, insightful, inspiring, please do share it with a friend, family member, colleague, anyone who you think would love the See Her Outside podcast. It really helps us to spread our work and get more people involved with our mission. We release new episodes every other Thursday, but there is so much more that you can get involved with to help us close the gender gap outdoors and in. See Her Outside is brought to you by the Alliance for Gender Equity and Outdoor Adventure, which has a few really awesome opportunities if you want to make your adventure give back. We are now accepting applications to become a trailblazer with the Cairn Project. You turn your personal outdoor adventure into a grassroots fundraiser to raise funds for the Summit Scholarship Foundation. We hook you up with the storytelling tips and fundraising skills so that you can make an impact with your time outdoors and make it possible for more girls and women to have life-changing experiences outside. I highly recommend signing up for our email newsletter or just perusing cairnproject.org so that you can figure out how you want to get out to give back. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button now so that you don't miss any future episodes of See Her Outside. We would love for you to stay in touch or send your feedback to Angie@cairnproject.org so that we can team up in our mission to close the gender gap and work towards a more inclusive outdoors. See Her Outside is hosted by me, Angie Lake, and edited by Alyson Castonguay. Until next time, go get outside.